Hi, my name is Lindy Beatie. I'm doing a little session here with one of our wonderful people of the community, but let me tell you a little bit about me. I haven't lived here a long time, about 20 years. I always tell people I married into the county, but my husband's family has been here for a long time. And we have one of our also long-time residents here from Nevada County, Bob R L Crabb. So,
hello, Lindy.
dude, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good, good. And you are an eternal member of this wonderful Nevada County.
Well, eternal in that I have lived here most of my life, not all of my life.
And where else have you lived?
I lived in Atlanta for 3.5 years, or around Atlanta, and around Seattle for about a year and a half.
And how did you get to those places?
Well, I started out, I used to write songs with some friends of mine, and we were trying to put together a band in the early 1970s here in Nevada County.
Oh.
But it was limited to how many good musicians you could find, especially drummers. There was one drummer, he only knew one beat, and he was in about 5 bands. And at some point we just said, well, you know, if we're ever going to do anything, we got to get out of here. And one of the fellas that I was working with, his uncle ran a halfway house in Atlanta.
Oh my.
And so he said, why don't you come to Atlanta? Things are going on here. That was right around the time the Allman Brothers were just coming up, and so we said, sure, why not? And we went back there and put together a band and had a lot of fun. Didn't ever make any records, made a lot of demo tapes and played a lot of fun shows.
Did you make any money?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking.
And so ended up coming back here right at the end of 1975. Lived here for quite a while, and then I got divorced in 1990, and I decided that I needed to break from the area, so I moved up to Seattle with some friends up there. At that time, there was a really big cartoon community up there, lots of cartoonists and publishers.
Huh? Wow.
So it was the place to be. Kind of like San Francisco was for musicians in the 1960s. So I lived up there for a few years, and then on a visit down here, I ran into an old classmate from all the way back to kindergarten.
Oh my goodness.
And I got together with her and moved back here. And we've been together ever since.
And that's Marianne.
Yes.
Great. I love it. I love it. So, any regrets about doing those other cities?
Oh, not at all.
Great.
It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. Do you, in your mind's eye, do you see yourself every once in a while back in those cities?
I don't think so. I'm not much of a city guy anymore. You know, when I was young and a little more limber, you know, it was good. But but now, you know, I'm moving too slow. This town's just about right speed for me.
Good for you. Good for you. So when you went up to Seattle, you said that it was kind of like the comic book mecca there.
Yes.
Is that where you felt you maybe had some inspiration up there? And
yeah. I lived in a house with 2 other cartoonists, and I worked for or not worked for, but I was published by several different publishers up there, and a lot of underground newspapers, and made a lot of good friends. So it was a real valuable experience. Unfortunately, when I came back here, it was right about the end of the publishing boom, and you know, the 90s were not really a great time for cartoonists. And so I came back here, and after a year or so, I ran into somebody at the post office that suggested that I try getting a strip into the Union, the local newspaper.
And what year was this?
This was 1994.
Got it. Okay.
So I put together, I had all these things in my head, and I thought, okay, you know, I've always wanted to do a daily comic strip, but trying to get syndicated is really difficult. So I put together a comic strip, and then I went and talked to the publisher. At that time, it was a woman named Margaret Wade, and I just badgered her for a long time. And finally she said, okay, we'll try you out. And, you know, they said, well, we'll pay you the same rate that we pay for syndicated comics. So I got $35 a week.
Wow. That's amazing.
And
did you know that was kind of a going rate? I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah, because,
okay.
I mean, the syndicates make money off of the number of newspapers.
Correct.
You know, it's a few bucks here and a few bucks there.
Right.
And of course, the bigger papers pay more, but a little paper like the Union, you know, doesn't pay all that much. And I said, okay, you know, I did it for the exposure.
Okay,
you know?
of course.
And it was a comic strip called Roadskill. It was about a couple of squirrels, the Squirrel Brothers, Earl and Burl, and their problems in trying to get across the road. As you know from living around here, squirrels have a terrible time trying to get across the road. And I thought, well, you know, that's kind of a metaphor for all of us. We're all just trying to get to the other side of the road without getting squished.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you come up with these things, when you thought about the squirrel scenario for your comic, where do you get that? Where does that come from?
That's a good question, and I don't know that I have an answer for that. Just my head's full of nuts, I guess.
Okay, we're not gonna go there. Do I have to make an opinion on that?
No.
Okay, good. So, but because to me, it's just amazing. I look at your work and work of other people, and I think, is that something that you have in your head always? Is it something that gets sparked? How does that come out? How does that? I mean, because you have to sit down all the time and start drawing. How does that come out like that?
Well, my inspiration comes from what other people have started. You know, I was a big fan of Pogo, if you remember. Yes, Pogo from the 1950s and 60s, and you know, some of the other comic strips that had little animals in it, talking animals, which we call anthropomorphic comics.
There is a category, huh?
Animals with human attributes.
Right, okay.
And I did the Roadskill strip for about 3 years, and then I just kind of got burned out because I wasn't getting any traction from the syndicates, and tired of working 6 days a week for $35 a week. So I talked to the editor, John Seelmeyer, and said, how about if I switch gears and do a comic strip that's kind of based on me and what the things that are going on locally. So I became an editorial cartoonist.
Got it.
And it was a real rough time in Nevada County history.
Also?
The county, which is pretty much a blue county now, was pretty much a red county back then. And 4 liberals got elected to the Board of Supervisors, which drove the other side into a frenzy. And the war went on for years and years, and I chronicled everything.
I was going to say, what great material, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was pre-Donald Trump, you know, and pre... what's their names?
The MAGA people.
Here I'm going blank.
That's
here.
okay. The MAGA people or any of those guys.
Tea Party.
Tea Party, right?
Yes, it was before the Tea Party,
Yep.
which actually the Tea Party started here. And,
It did, yes, it did.
so, you know, we're responsible.
Did you go to meetings? Did you go to
Oh, yeah,
board
I went to
meetings?
meetings all the time.
Uh-huh.
My wife was working as a caregiver, and she worked in a lot of evenings. So I was on my own, and I thought, well, you know, I'll just go to all of these meetings. I'd go to all the city council meetings, and all of the little rallies and things, and board of supervisors, and it was just a wealth of material, and a lot better than trying to just pick it up from a newspaper article when you could talk to people in the hallway and see people and how they interacted with each other. It was a real wealth of material for me during those years.
And when you are in those board meetings and people realize who you are and what you do,
Sometimes
do they like, oh my gosh?
Yeah, sometimes they would. There were some of them that would kind of cringe. But then, you know, there were other ones that, I mean, politicians kind of love to have their pictures drawn. One of the supervisors was being recalled and taken to task for wasting money. So I drew this one character who was actually a candidate for Board of Supervisors this year, and back then he was just an activist, and I drew him as the shining knight of the right, and burning this woman supervisor at the stake using money, because this is for wasting money.
And the feedback that you got?
That cartoon hangs in her house right now.
That's great. That's great.
And that was, you know, most people didn't get upset by my cartoons. They wanted either to buy the original or they wanted a copy for themselves.
And what do you think made them enjoy you making fun of them or having them be a center of your satire?
Well, you'd have to ask them that,
But what do you think?
I don't know. It's their bid for immortality. Their little piece of history.
Absolutely. So, are there when you were growing up in Nevada County, as you think back, we were talking about this earlier, and the people that you know, because there's a lot of people here that you know. That you've seen their history.
Fewer every day.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But you know their history. What is one of the things that when you were in Seattle or you in Atlanta, you kept thinking, I got to go back because I miss this. I miss this part of Nevada County. What is that? This?
Well, the Yuba River, just the towns themselves. You know, how can you not like living here? There are people that do say that for one reason or another. They might have a personal problem with the place, but it's always been home for me. Just the smell of the pine trees and the smell of that Sierra dirt, it draws me back. We have an old saying that the wind doesn't blow in Nevada County, it sucks.
I haven't heard that one yet. That's good. I'll have to ask my husband if he knows that one. I like that one. That's great. If you were to, kind of going back to your career now, if you were to talk to a young person about getting into this line of work, advice?
Well, I would say you probably should get a good foundation in education, which I never got. I learned from trial and error, and from friends. My mentor was a cartoonist named Dan O'Neill.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, okay, get this book, which was the Smithsonian collection of of comic strips. It had all the comic strips, Mickey Mouse and Little Orphan Annie and Joe Palooka and Crazy Cat and Pogo and a whole bunch of other ones. And he goes, sit down and mimic what these guys have done. Draw the way they do. You'll learn how to get that line work, and eventually you won't be drawing like them. It'll turn into your own style. And that was really a big help. That was one thing that really kind of helped me over the hurdle and into how to draw comics.
So was it difficult to find your style? I mean, when did that happen? Do you have an inkling anymore about when that transition happened, when you were still learning and copying?
Well,
This is me, this is my style, I can see it now.
My style has always been evolving. It's pretty much set now.
Because it's very distinctive.
I
mean, it is. It's lovely.
It's it's just little bits of everybody else. Like I say, the people that came before me, and I don't know. It's just my style. That's about all I can say about it. I don't recognize other people's artwork in there anymore.
And you did before? Did you before?
Well, yeah, I go, okay, what can I rip off from this cartoonist?
All right, so here we have this wonderful book that you've brought here for Ramona to have in her library.
Yes.
And tell me about this book.
Well, every now and then I figure I should probably collect some of this stuff and put it out for people to buy, because I do sell some of the original artwork, but it's more expensive, and this is a way that people can have what I do for relatively modest price. So this is a collection that's mostly cartoons from 2011 to 2019. And they're all, they're history books as well.
There you go.
Because they cover, some of the stuff is more national, some of the politics, but for the most part, they're little vignettes about living in Nevada County and things that happen in Nevada County.
And what is one thing, Bob, when you go over the Rainbow Bridge, what is one thing that you hope that people will remember about you? What is your mark on this fabulous county?
I couldn't tell you that. They'll have to figure that out. Hopefully they won't name a street after me or anything.
Wouldn't you like that?
Crab Street?
Well, there you
Wouldn't
go.
want to live on Crab Street.
There's an easy street in Penn Valley.
That's true.
But I mean, is there one thing that you think of when people think of R L Crabb that you'd like them to reminisce about?
Well, just, there have been other artists. There was a guy named George Mathis who did these beautiful pencil and pen and ink drawings, and they've been used for calendars and so on for years and years. And I'd like to be compared with that kind of a legacy, just, somebody who captured life at a certain moment in time. That's about it.
That's great. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for listening in. I hope you have a great day. Again, my name is Lindy Beatie, and we've been talking to R L Crabb. Thanks again. See you soon.